Hello, I'm Keith Morris. I'm a freelance photographer living and working in Aberystwyth. I work for newspapers throughout the UK and I do a lot of work for television and theatre companies. I've been taking photographs since about 1975, and before that I had done A-level art at school. So I kind of thought that I had a visual sense before I became a photographer. And then I kind of came into photography via designing lights for theatre companies. So I had a kind of sense of how light works in space before became a photographer. How do I go about making a picture? It varies from an assignment to an assignment. It depends on what the job is and what the point of the photograph is. But the basic starting point is some sort of understanding of what it is that you're photographing and what's going on in front of you. Being able to look creatively, being able to look intelligently at a scene, working out some way of then crystallizing what you're seeing there into an image. And then the post-production, the editing afterwards should become quite simple because you're not trying to drag something out that wasn't there in the first place. You've thought about it enough beforehand that it's there in the picture. If you think you can rescue something afterwards, then you're probably making the wrong decisions. It's really easy now to become a photographer. I mean, every man, woman, child, and dog with a camera has got a website and they call themselves a photographer. So it's never been easier to become a photographer. But conversely, it's never been harder to actually make money as a photographer because everybody thinks they can do it and mostly they can't. Making money is so complicated because there's so many different ways of doing it. You can either work directly to commission from a client, I want you to do something, or you can try selling work through agencies and picture libraries. There's no direct answer to how to make money from photography, but the only common thread is to keep making pictures and keep getting better at the pictures and keep thinking that the picture you're going to take the next day will be better than what you've done this day. The five most common mistakes amateur photographers make. Well, thinking that they're good is one thing when they're not. No, there's all sorts of errors that people make, just in terms of basic composition skills in the pictures. They don't think about what the pictures are actually saying. I come from a journalistic background, so I'm always conscious of having to say something in a picture so that it actually has communication merit. And you see so many pictures which they have no particular point. They're there, and they're badly made, they're badly constructed, they're badly thought out, probably badly edited, over edited, and they just lack any sense of engagement. And if you haven't got something to say, then you can't say it in a picture. And far too many people seem to think that if they take hundreds or thousands of photographs, that somehow or other in the edit afterwards they'll find the right picture. I don't think that's the case. I think you're much better off taking fewer pictures, making fewer pictures, and thinking more about what it is that you're making. I don't think that there's anything that's particularly essential about any aspect of the kit that you need to have. You don't need to have this camera or that camera. You don't need to have this lens or that lens. You don't need to have this flash gun or that flash gun. What you need to have is the way of seeing the world, seeing things, and being able to actually make that then work in a photograph. I hear so many people say, oh, if only I had this Nikon lens or that Canon camera, then I would be a better photographer. Basically, that's bollocks. What you need to have is just the ability to see a picture and then use whatever camera kit you have to make that. And if it's not the right kit for that sort of picture, then make a different sort of picture. My very first lens was a 50mm lens on an old Russian Zenit E camera, cast iron camera made out of surplus World War II tanks, I think, because it was so heavy. And just one lens. I mean, I had that one camera and one lens for about 3 years. I didn't have anything else. So you'd learn to use that one lens. Now I've got lots more, but I very often go back to just having, a fixed lens on the camera and use that creatively. Rather than sort of carrying around a whole bag of stuff, just go out with one particular camera and one particular lens and don't change it. It's not even the zoom lens; it's a fixed focal length lens, which is it's a far better discipline for you to actually minimize the equipment and maximize your imagination. Insofar that I don't travel anywhere meaningful, then I would have to transpose the theme of journey into something more conceptual. It would be, because journeys aren't simply physical journeys. Journeys can be emotional journeys, journeys can be intellectual journeys, journeys can be personal journeys of discovery and exploration. So I don't think that you need to limit yourself to one particular interpretation of what journey is. Journey can be whatever path you want it to take. And in my case, it would have to be, by necessity, not a physical journey. Or it would be a physical journey of very short duration. And journeys can be, walking to the shops. That in itself can be a journey. For a person, for instance, who suffers from agoraphobia, getting out of the house and going to buy a pint of milk from the end of the street would be a journey of discovery for themselves. So there's no limit to what journey can be.